Hey, Grego's back. It's been a while. It's been a while, hasn't it, Andrew? Yeah, been a while. It's been a while. You sang that song. Since I said I'm sorry.
Tangents.
What are they called? Vengeance.
Tangents. Off on a tangent again.
No, I'm not on a tangent. When have I ever been on a tangent? Now, come on. I'm gonna make another apology because my last YouTube video I said, oh, I won't leave it so long before making another YouTube video, and everyone's like unsubscribe. No, they're not really. Actually, I'm still gaining subscribers. I got 600 and something. Thank you all. Thanks y'all for following along on the journey. What have we got here? This isn't. Hang on. This isn't a combi. This isn't a restoration. What is going on here? It's an awesome campus. Very, very common in neglected cars. If any of you are watching from overseas, probably not as much of an issue, but the Australian sun is brutal. So, yeah, so what it is, Clearcoats. Let's talk about Clearcoats and what happens when you don't maintain your car. That's what happens. The clear just starts to fade away. So you can see, even with a filling blade, that Clearcoat's just falling off. Obviously, where they had previous stickers on in the past, that's actually preserved the paint underneath because it's under the sticker, is not exposed to the sun as much. So yeah, you can just see how that's coming off. Now, yeah, I've seen some con jobs before, usually on Facebook and that, and claiming that they've got some miracle polish that can bring back to like mirror finish after, even when it looks like that. That is BS, okay? Once your clear coat is gone, you can see it here. That's how it starts. It gets a bit milky. And yeah, once that milkiness is there, that means it's lifting off. And not so happy days. So I might even sharpen this up a bit more. When I say sharpen it up, just get on a sanding block, and I might remove a fair bit of that clear coat just with the blade. Look at that, it's just peeling off. Yeah, so the whole roof on this one, so it's basically your horizontal surfaces are going to cop it the most. The sides actually look okay. Still got shine on there, the clear's hanging on, and with a bit of a buff, the sides will be no worries at all, but it's always the tops. So you can see where it's just starting to lift off there. So and once that happens, even after you scrape it off like that, you end up with a bit of an edge there. You could try and feather that out and then spray color direct on, but I don't recommend it. It's you're just better off to have a light layer of primer on there. So just so you're not just for adhesion, but more for you can feather out the edges a bit better. So if you've got a bit of primer on there and you can give it a light scuff over, this edge will fade in a lot better. So as you can see, I've masked off just the top of this thing. Like this is where we're at again. Hang on, I've just gotta good old hay fever. You just learn to live with it, don't you? So the what the story is, a quick job. I'm hoping to do this in just over a day, and it's just got to look okay, tidy for resale. The paint top that I put on here with a couple of coats of clear is probably going to outlive the rest of the car anyway. So, but to sell a car with fading clear coat like that, is not really ideal, is it? It doesn't look real great. The back tailgate's okay. We're going to give the sides and the back a buff. Yeah, this is actually there's a little camper kitchen set up, tiny little sink and some pull-out drawers and a bed in the back. So although it's not a pop top or anything, it was basically a hired camper, and it's getting a bit of a mechanical tidy up, and then it's for sale. So if this is something that you might be interested in, just hit me up. So it's not for sale by me, like it's not like I own it. I'm just here for the paint job. But the point is that I can put you in contact with the owner of the car. And you know, I love my Volkswagens and that. I love a lot of Euro trash, but you know, yeah, Euro guys have to admit that, you know, the reliability of Japanese cars is their strong point. They're usually dull as dishwater to drive. You know, just most Japanese cars are appliance mobiles. So you get in, you don't have to worry about them. Just get in, go, drive them. But they're usually pretty ordinary to drive. That's how it's been since the 70s. I think the Japanese are catching up a little bit, and the Koreans for that matter, on cars that actually handle well and steer well, and the general feel of the car. People don't understand, right? All they think of is resale and reliability. That's two strong points in buying a car, but it's not the only reason for buying a car. So yeah, so here I am, just bloody put in some, just run that over to remove what's loose there. So you can see I've taped off there. I'm going to prime that whole top. Won't need very much primer, because by the time I sand that down, it'll be pretty smooth. And what I'm going to do is blend down here. Not my normal thing. I normally only do full resprays as part of restoration work, but I can certainly do a bit of blending when I have to. So we're going to blend this pillar. It's where you blow a bit of the colour down and you clear down to here, so you've got a bit of a cut-off point there. So let's see how much we can tidy up this awesome camper. So yeah, so just to go through the process, gonna scrape a bit of the halo stuff off where you can see it's lifting. I'm gonna sand the whole roof, probably with 240. I'm gonna, pardon me, mask everything up obviously, and then prime the roof and the bonnet, and let that dry a little bit, and then give that a scuff, bit of a, you know, even just a foam pad job, and then shoot some color and clear on. This is a metallic, so I've had to buy, because I'm going to be doing a bit of blending in that. You can get metallic in direct gloss, which is a cheaper option, but it's hard to get a nice wet look on it when you're trying to spread the metallic particles out evenly, so you're better off to do it separately. So I have done direct gloss metallics before, and they never look better than okay. You know, probably okay for what this is, but I thought, no, why not? I'll just spray a couple of coats of the metallic, and then a couple of coats of clear. So it certainly won't be getting our normal 4 coats of clear or whatever we do on the full restorations, but it won't need it. So alrighty, so that's the rundown on this car. Let's just call it Terry Tarago, eh, Andrew? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So yeah, these were a weird car. They were probably one of the first Japanese cars they sort of thought outside the box. It's, you know, it was very space agey for the time, but they're a prick to work on. The motor's tilted on an angle underneath the floor, so yeah, access was a bit of a pain. So anyway, lucky it's a Toyota and it probably didn't need too much access. So alrighty, we'll going to put you on time lapse, and we will. You can watch it all going down. So, righto, bye. Alrighty, here we are, prep all done. Really only took a few hours, not too bad. Oh, what has it been this morning? What time to start? Yeah, probably about 3 hours to get it ready to prime. So you can see here where you've got little remnants of the Clearcoat, but it's all on there solid. So I've just sanded that all smooth. I ended up filling a couple of dents while I was there. Why not? You know, it only takes a minute to put a bit of filler in. So that's all sorted and that's all smooth. You can't feel that lettering anymore. So roof, the same deal. There's a couple of little rust spots starting, so I treated those up. These roof rails, these plastic rails here, I'm gonna prime and paint them. I'll put a 1K plastic primer on them, so that should stick fine. It's just gonna look slicker if I do that. I got the plastic roll wrapped over the whole car, and you just cut out where you need. Oh, another bit that I found, you know, for the time it took, not much. It was a tiny bit down there, and it was actually, it had been damaged in the past, scraped, and they bogged it up, but it had been hit obviously a second time after it had been filled, and it knocked some of the bog out and it started rusting. So ground all that rust out. It was surface rust. There wasn't holes there. Ground that out and refilled that, and I'll blow a bit of primer on as it is there, so nice and close to the edge, and then I'll take this off a bit more, and I'll do a little super cheap recondition, super cheap restoration. So So yeah, so now I'm just going to put a couple of coats of primer on it, but I think because we've got a few alternating layers and stuff like that, you could probably try and do a wet on wet coat, but I'm going to do like 2 coats and then put it out in the sun to dry and then actually sand it smooth. So don't know whether I'll get it painted today, but I'm going to prime this now and put it out in the sun and then see what happens after that. Because I might just paint it tomorrow. What's the difference? I'll go and work on something else. Yeah, so Trevor's going to be almost as good as new. So this part here was just going to get a bit of a blend, so that you don't want primer. You don't want any more primer on there than what you really need. So that's what we're doing with that. So all right. So that's the process. I basically just sanded the whole thing with 240. These are the good 3M discs, 6-inch discs on the DA. It's a pretty easy sand area. It's mostly flat, a few curves on it, but I also went around with a Scotch pad, a red Scotchy. Not sure where I put it now, and just sort of went a bit underneath his tape. So what the plan is, I've got this tape here. When it's primed, I'll pull the tape off and slightly lower. I'll like sand through the edge of the primer. See how I got sharp edges here? Normally you wouldn't do that, but it won't matter because I'm going to be feathering out the edge of the primer all the way around and retaping the top. So yeah, a bit of mucking around, but overall pretty easy process. So alrighty, so that's the plan for Trevor, and you know, even if I don't paint it till tomorrow, it should be looking like new. And we will do a bit of a, just before I hand it back, I'll just run the buff over the sides, see if we can blend that in a bit better. So as in, yeah, bring up a bit of shine and take care of a few scratches. Alrighty, up for now. Yeah, Grego's here. So we've got Tarago. Yeah, what I ended up doing was 2 coats of primer. That's just normal high fill primer, just a budget sort of one. But I use it on a lot of jobs because it works really well. So I think just for reference, it's about $120, $140 maybe for a 4-litre kit. So it's not the cheapest of the cheap, which I've tried before, and it's just sort of, I think I prefer this stuff. Oh, it's a spray like one. So so 2 coats on all that stuff, what needed to be done across the top here. And now I'm in the sanding stage, which includes down here. I'm just using a bit of 800 wet and dry to come down here because I'm going to be painting down on those pillars, and just I've been rubbing through this edge to create a soft edge. See how there's no hard line there anymore? So you can see it's faded out and you can't feel anything there. So that's what you want to be able to blow the paint over that and not see it. So, but I'll be coming down here with the paint as well, more clear than anything. I'll just mist 1 coat of the green on, and yeah, go from there. Clear over the top. So for the bigger areas up through there, I'm using the 6-inch sander. Where is it? So it's over here, just working outside to keep the dust out of the spray booth. But a 6-inch sander with a interface pad, which is the soft foam pad on the sander itself. And I'm just buzzing over the primer because the primer leaves a little bit of orange peel. You might be able to see it close there. You can see where I've sanded and where it's to be sanded. So although it feels fairly smooth, it's definitely not as smooth as it could be. So it's been baking in the sun all afternoon, so it's already had enough time to dry. So I'm going over it with 240 and then 400. So I've had a packet of the 3M 240 grits, and I've just picked these up, these purple ones. These are a bit of a no-name brand, literally no name, 400, but they're actually holding out pretty well, keeping their grip. I guess that's the thing, you got to pick and choose what sandpapers you use. You know, like if you were fully loaded and making a heap of money, I guess you'd probably just get 3M sandpaper all the time, because it's well, I haven't used any sandpaper that's better than the 3M, put it that way. But it's not always cost effective, and particularly in the coarser grits, like I buy those Sea Speed rolls. So that's Velcro stuff for the blocks, and they're it's about half the price of the 3M, because the blocks are a lot longer ones. Yeah, for a similar price. And in the coarser grits, it's not as important. But I just found that I've used the cheaper 240 grits to sand primer back, and it tends to clog up easier. So the 3M ones not only last a bit longer, but less likely to clog. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. That bonnet's finished. Of 400 of that. Any little areas that I've rubbed through like that back to bare, I'll just get a bit of I've got a little it's a touch-up epoxy primer in a pressure pack can, so I just go and that's done. So through here, because it's a budget job, I'm going to be blowing a little bit of, I'll be masking it off there. I'm going to be missing a bit of the green on, and then missing a couple of coats of clear on, and I'll be sort of blending it out there. Proper way. Let's talk about how you would do it in a professional panel shop. If you were doing it as a full, you know, a proper repair, you would clear coat this all the way to there, and I've decided against it because of the budget price that I'm doing the job repair for. So let's see how it comes up, eh? I'm gonna do a blend of clear there. So once I've misted a coat of colour, I'll be spraying a couple of coats of clear. I've wet sanded this with 800. So what I'll be doing is, once you've blown a bit of clear, you peel the tape back a bit, and then you get some of the thinners and just mist a bit on there, and it sort of softens the edge a bit, so you don't have a hard tape line, and that will actually buff in okay for what it is. It's not a, you know, it's just a cheap van that's going to be for sale, and yeah, that's but it's going to look a hell of a lot tidier than what it was. So you can see all the heavy scratches down there of a hard life, and here it's had some sort of jiff or something over there, I don't know, but I guess they tried to buff the scratch out. So I'll be running the buff over the side just with some you know, cutting compound to try and get as much of the scratches out as possible. It won't be perfect, but it doesn't have to be, you know. So yeah, you know, you can get this sort of remake job done in pretty much a day if you're on point. I had to go away for a couple of hours this afternoon, but it's, in a way, it's been good because it's let the primer bake in the sun. That's why it's hard enough to sand now. If you only had it indoors, well then it might not. It might be a bit too soft to sand. You just soon find out on your sandpaper if it's clogging up. So yeah, 240, 400, and that'll pretty much be ready to go then, I think. So, although being a metallic, you know, so you could go to a 600 or 800. So, I might see, yeah, I've got some 800s there as well. I might give it a light paint over with that, but, you know, you don't have to go silly overboard. It's not a silly overboard car. So, alrighty, just thought I'd explain the primer and the sanding of the primer stage. So I'll just chuck you on time lapse. Why not? Okay, bye.
Hey, Grego's here. We've got Tarago all sorted now. It's had the buff run over it, just needs a wash now, and this Toyota badge has to go on the front. There's another one that we've got to glue on there. So yeah, as you can tell, it's come up pretty well. Bit of reasonable reflection there. I think we got 3 coats of clear on it all together, so it should last alright. The blend has come up pretty good. Yeah, like I said, it's got a bit of buffing compound on there. We ran the buff over the sides, try and remove some of the scratches and that. But yeah, that's it. So I'm oh yeah, it's filthy. It's been outside for a couple of days, so it's been finished for a while. Yeah, so I'll whack the video up tonight and this can be picked up tomorrow. So yeah, not a show car by any means, but it's given it a bit of a lease of life, at least in the looks department. So yeah, that's where we're up to, and once that's had a wash and the badge whacked on, it's good to go. So you know, there's a few tiny little dents and ripples and whatnot in it, but that wasn't the idea of it. It was all about sorting the paint, and I reckon the looks quite acceptable now. The rest of the car, so you can see where we come down on the pillars with the clear coat, and yeah, that's just sort of straight paint, so that can eventually be polished and be good to go. So that's another one out of the way, and that sort of showed you some of the process. I'm now doing another one, Suzuki Vitara, and the main difference I'm doing with that is that I'm done what's called a wet on wet primer. Instead of, this one was a fair bit rougher, so it was primed and then the primer dried and then sanded, whereas a wet on wet, you thin the primer out more and you're just using the primer as a sealer coat to lock the paint down, lock the old paint down, and just create a bit of uniformity. So I did that on the tops with some wet on wet sealer, and then it had to have a special ground coat, a darker grey ground coat for the top colour to cover. But that's a different car, different job. Yeah, so that's Tarago. It's not really its name, but I just call it that. Yeah, so that's how it came up. I'm quite happy with it, and let's hope the owner is too. I think so. Alrighty, well, you've had a look at it. We'll talk to you later.